Alright, what up guys? It's me, and welcome back to another video. As you can tell by the title of this video, I've come up with a saving system in Unity, and I want to be able to show you guys how I made it and sort of walk through what's involved in it. So the reason I created this saving system is as a game developer, and I've been game developing for several years. I'm not a pro or anything. A lot of the games I make, no one would even play. I just develop because I think it's fun, and I like learning about how to do all this stuff. I like being able to play a game and think about how it works. There are several packages for Unity that you can buy. Some are free, and they implement a saving system for you. And they're pretty easy to use, and I'm all about efficiency and making the developer's life easier because sometimes it is not easy to just sit and write lines of code all day. But there is a value to understanding why something works the way it does and how something works the way it does. So, in that sense, I created a saving system because I wanted to understand how this works. And I'm now much more equipped with the tools to do that versus when I started just messing around in Unity several years ago, because I've taken some college computer science courses. I've taken some of the foundations. Data structures, for example, taught me how to make my own scoreboard, essentially, with a hash map. And then one of the other courses I took, we had a group project, and one of my group mates came up with a GameState system to save, which is essentially what I'm using. You can call it anything, but it's the idea of taking and creating another class to store your data in, and then just writing that data out. So without further ado, I want to show you guys this saving system. So I'm in Unity here, and I'm going to hit play. So apologies for the slightly smaller UI. I didn't do the right scaling thing, so when I hit play maximize, the canvas didn't scale correctly, which meant it was way smaller than this, and I think I finally got it to something that is a decent size. So to walk through the elements here, we have our save text, which will just display the text that we save. We have our text field right here, which goes through and shows, or you type in the text that you want to save. Again, this is a very, very simple demonstration. You can use this for a lot more complicated things with the same method. I'm using it in the game I'm creating to store arrays of whether things are active and what the score is, and essentially which purchases have been purchased. So there are a lot more uses than just simple strings. But then you have your file name, you have your enter file extension. A lot of times I'm just saving it in a .txt, but sometimes you want to use different formats, so this lets you do that. And then I have the save button. So to start, I'm going to say this is a test save. I'm going to call it save1, and I'm going to make it a .txt. So I saved it, and again, unfortunately, the scaling has messed it up here, but as you can see, we have save1.txt. And I can zoom in a little bit here to where you can sort of see where it says save1.txt. If I make it, man, okay, there's not one in there for me to make it a slightly different size. Actually, let me pause this and see if I can make it a little more readable. Give me just a second, guys. There we go. So now you can see we have save1.txt. And if I click that, we can see that this is a test save gets displayed there. Now, since I've been doing a lot on this channel with, say, answer set programming, I can write a DLV clue in here. I can call it clues and make it a .dlv. Then I can save it, and now clues.dlv shows up, and you can see that it prints out that one line. Now, there's an issue with this that you wouldn't actually be able to print out a DLV clue that way, but I'll talk about that later. So as you can see, this happens. I'm going to do one more. That's just final test, and I'll put a little smiley face. I'll call it test.txt. And then it displays final text. So now I want to walk you guys through how the code for this works. As you can see, I have a save file here, or a save folder called saves, where all of these files go. So I have, I have the test file, and as you can see here, it's in a little bit of a weird format where you have text as final test. And then save one, you have text as this is a test save. And it would look the same way for DLV, but unfortunately Unity doesn't know how to read those. So to start, I'm going to walk through our GameState. Now this is a very, very simple GameState file. There is one variable, and it is the text string. And then we also have the constructor here that just takes in a past string test, or past text string. Let me try that one again. And then it just sets text to the past text. And then we have two methods, a string method called getText, which returns the text, and a void method called setText, which takes in a string, and it sets the text to the past text, which essentially does the same thing the constructor does, but just saves you creating a new GameState object if you want to change the text. So again, very, very simple. Like I said, I have one of these for a game I'm currently building that has an integer for the score, and then bool arrays for whether the purchases and buttons are active or not. So this is where a lot of things happen. This is the file manager. So here for the input, I just have the input field, and I have variables for them. Instead of using an input field, I'm just getting the text that displays what the input field actually says and what you've put into the input field. And then I just have another set of game objects for display for the entry in the entry view. So on start, I have update entry view, and I'll go through that in a minute. Nothing happens in the update, but I have a void here called, or a void function here called save file. So we go through and we get the strings from the input fields. I then have a string called file name, or file name string, where I'm taking the text from, let me go into play mode again here. We're taking the text from our file name right here. We're adding a dot to it, and then we're adding the extension. So where I had test.txt, name right here would be test, extension would be txt, and then I have a period right in there, which makes it test.txt. Then after that, we create a new game state with the content to be saved, which is the text from this input field right here. Then here's where the magic happens. Because in Unity you can't save you can't save objects as the memory address. You can save the game state, but you can't necessarily read the game state because the file writing system only works with strings. So you have to convert from game state to string for saving, and then string to game state when loading. And this is slightly different from what I've experienced in Java, where you can just sort of write out an object and then import an object because it saves the memory address. So here I'm using JSON utilities to convert to a string, and then I'm writing that string out to the file with the directory, which is defined up here. Then I'm just saying, I'm printing to the console, file saved, and then I'm updating the entry view. Now, the entry view is essentially something that you just go through, and for each file in the directory, you create an object that basically just has the text on the object be the file name. So that's what this is doing. I'm clearing out the entries so that when I have new entries that are added, I don't just I don't create multiple of the same file entries in that system. And then I'm creating a string array of files where I'm getting the file path. Then what I'm doing here is for each string in that array, I'm making a new string array and I'm splitting it as a slash. Then I'm saying if the last part of this array does not contain the word meta, because I don't know if it's just a MacBook thing or if it's a Unity thing, but a lot of times the assets will save with a .meta tag on them, or .meta extension, and I don't want to report on those, I just want to report on the actual files themselves. So this condition here is saying if the name of the file does not contain meta, then we're creating a new game object from a prefab. We're setting the parent to be within the entry view, because I have a couple layouts in there. And then we're getting the text, and we're setting it to the file name. And then we're printing the file out to, or the file name out to the console. And then the last bit of magic that is making this work is actually loading the game state back into Unity. So here we have the clicked button, and we're getting the game object of the button that was clicked from the event system. Then we have the save name, where we are getting the text of the entry. And when I say entry, I mean these things. So when we click on this, we're getting the text that is being displayed. So when I click on this, the text we're getting is save1.txt. We're then checking if the file exists within the directory. That's what this does. We take save name, pass it in for the file name, and then directory stays the same. And if it does exist, we then take a string of the JSON from reading into the file, and we use JSON utility to turn that string into a game state. And then we set the display text to be the text from that game state. So hopefully that was not too confusing. It looks like a lot of code, but it was pretty simple to create. It took me about a half hour to come up with. And really quickly, before I end off the video, there are more uses than just a saving system. To be able to use this and to write data out to a file, you could make a formatter. You can make a formatter for something. The biggest use I can think of for this is actually, saving in like a video game. But if you wanted to like copy and paste some text and keep track of which one was which, you could do that. You could do it with lists. I believe. I know you can do it with arrays because I've done that in, like I said, my own projects. Um, so there are countless uses for this. And again, I just wanted to share this with you guys so that hopefully I can sort of help understand or help you guys who are watching this understand what goes on in a game saving system. It has taken me until now to understand it. Again, like I said, I always just used like a pre-written package when I wanted to deal with saving. But now that I actually understand it, I feel like I can write my own, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And this is a proof of concept for that. So yeah. If you guys have any questions about what I did, feel free to put them in the comments. If you guys would like me to make this code public, I can figure out how to put it on GitHub. And yeah, I think that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, follow, do all those things, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.